Wealth is more than simply having financial means. Wealth is a mindset, a way of living. Money comes and goes, but for those with the right outlook and understanding of wealth, there will always be opportunities. Our guest today, Tom Corley, understands the difference between rich and poor. At age 9, his family went from being multimillionaires to broke in just one night. Since then, Tom has been seeking to understand wealth. For 5 years, he studied the daily activities of over 200 wealthy people and over 100 people living in poverty. He discovered the gap between the two was based on their daily habits. From his research, he wrote the book, Rich Habits, The Daily Success Habits of Wealthy Individuals, and his upcoming book, Rich Kids. Tom, welcome to Success. It's our great fortune, pun intended, to have you here with us today.
It's great to be here, Darren. I'm honored. Thank you.
So Tom, before we dive into the details about wealth habits, share a little bit more about your background with us. I mentioned your family went from everything to nothing overnight. Talk about what happened, how it shaped your outlook on wealth, and what your biggest lesson from it all was.
Sure. That is burned into my memory. I remember I was 9 years old. It was 1970. Our family, according to my dad, he said back then he was worth about $3 million, which in today's dollars is about $20 million. And then all in one night, it all came crashing down. He was the victim of what I call random bad luck. His warehouse burnt down, and he spent 2 years fighting the insurance companies for money, got pennies on the dollar, and then for the next 13 years, we just struggled financially. And that experience, Darren, completely altered my perspective regarding wealth and poverty for most of my adult life. Until I completed this Rich Habits research back in 2009, my view was that wealth and poverty were simply the byproduct of random luck. And I guess the big takeaway for me from our descent into poverty was that wealth is really a two-step process. It's making it and then keeping it.
Yeah, indeed. Okay, so as a result of your experiences, you spent a great deal of time studying both rich and poor. So tell us, what was your revolutionary discovery that you made during this research?
Yeah, Darren, after completing my study, I was floored that wealth and poverty have absolutely nothing to do with random luck or the circumstances of your life, and it has everything to do with your daily habits. I found that the wealthy had vastly different daily habits than the poor, and that your daily habits are the cause, and wealth or poverty is the effect. That the rich just simply do certain consistent fractional things every day that the poor don't do.
So we all know that, at least this is the news reports tell us, that 5% of the population in America make most of the money and control most of the wealth. So tell us about who these people are, profile them for us so we can know the aspects of them so we can learn from them.
Sure. 18% were senior executives at big companies, 51% were small business owners, 13% were salespeople, 63% took some risk in search of wealth, 91% were decision makers at their job, and 86% worked more than 50 hours per week. That's one of the rich habits I uncovered. Hard work ethic. 27% failed at least once in business, which was interesting to me since what I went through with my family and my dad. 80% were focused on pursuing one major goal, and I know you're a big proponent of goals, so that you could appreciate that. And 75% learned their rich habits primarily from their parents, Darren. The others learned them from career mentors, teachers, books, or the School of Hard Knocks. Just a few more. 88%, they read 30 minutes or more each day strictly for learning, just to learn. 54% were eternal optimists. 67% watched less than an hour of TV a day, and 81% maintained a to-do list. When it came to saving, 94% saved 20% or more of their income. And this is an interesting one. 44% woke up 3 hours or more before their workday actually began. That one was shocking to me. 89% slept 7 hours or more each night, and that's a big important thing that I learned in my research. Sleep is so important to your neural health, to your cognitive ability. And the last one is 76% exercised aerobically, 30 minutes or more 4 days a week, and that's an important health habit. And I think that's a good profile overview of the rich.
So there's some fantastic statistics there. At the end of this interview, Tom, I'll have you send me that so we can post that up on Success and have everybody sort of see where they fit on some of those percentages, because those I think are key. And we're obviously talking to the right audience here. 51% of them are small business owners, which most of the people who read and listen to Success are in that profile. So let's go to this revolutionary discovery, the one that's part of the title of your book, and talk more about the role of habits. Break down the types of habits that you've witnessed in both rich and poor and the main differences. I know you talk about ordinary habits and then keystone habits. So tell us the difference between those two and how we should understand habits and how they affect our outcomes.
Yeah, well, the keystone habits are unique habits in that they overpower ordinary daily habits, and overpowering means they can control them or eliminate them. So you can actually just add one rich habit and it can overpower 2 or 3 of your ordinary bad poverty habits. You know, I have over 240 of this data that I track, the differences between the habits and the behaviors of the rich and poor. I'll run over a few of them for you. One is something I know is one of your favorites is goals. 80% of the wealthy in my study were obsessed with pursuing one major long-term goal versus 12% for the poor. In fact, 55% of the wealthy spent a year or more in pursuit of just one single goal. I didn't find anyone in my poor group that was doing the same thing. So goals are very important. You have to pursue goals to turn that switch on. The wealthy were also masters, self-educators. 88% spent 30 minutes or more each day reading to learn versus 2% for the poor. And the wealthy read material related to their dreams, their goals, their careers, biographies of other successful people, self-help, and all sorts of things just to learn. 85% of the wealthy read 2 or more books a month, which was another interesting thing. And they did this month in and month out during their adult lives. They never stopped learning. They make self-education a daily habit. And 63% of the wealthy also listen to audiobooks during the commute to work or while exercising and around the home. So only 5% of the poor had this rich habit.
So, Tom, we know that if we want to be wealthy and feel wealthy, a big part of that is our relationships. So break down the power of our associations that we have with people on our track to wealth and describe the characteristics of a rich relationship.
The rich build strong relationships with other successful, like-minded people, and that's what I found in my research. The poor built relationships with other poor people. And you know, if you want to be more successful in life, you need to spend more time with successful people. We all know that. We've heard that. But yet there's actually a way to do it. You are a big fan of tracking, so am I. So one of the strategies that I came up with is to actually track your relationships, who you're associating with, and you know, whether they're a rich relationship or a poverty relationship. So the wealthy are very tuned in to who they're associating with.
All right, now I want to ask you about mindset. How do the rich think? Explain their thought process to us.
The wealthy are far more open-minded than the poor. Because they are engaged in reading and learning every day, they, by nature, are open to new ideas. They're looking for new things. And the poor in my study, they just had these limiting beliefs, these ideologies that locked them down, that made it virtually impossible for them to embrace any new thinking, any new knowledge, or any new possibilities or ideas. So the rich people and the poor people just have very different beliefs and thinking. Listening is such an important rich habit. The wealthy are good listeners. In fact, I came up with I guess it's a tool that I like to talk about, the 5-1 rule. And the way it works is simple. You listen for 5 minutes for every minute that someone's talking. If you get into the habit of doing that and become cognizant of that 5-1 rule, it'll become a habit to become a better listener. And that's important because wealthy individuals, that's how they learn about their relationships. They gather information. It's like a reconnaissance mission to gather information on their relationships. And some of the wealthy in my study even maintained a small notebook. They carried it around with them, and they just wrote things down about their relationships.
How about time management, Tom? How do the rich spend their time? What's their focus when it comes to productivity?
67% of the wealthy, they watch less than an hour of TV each day. Compare that to the poor. 77% of the poor watched more than an hour of TV each day, Darren. And now we have the internet, and 63% of the wealthy, they spend less than an hour a day on the internet recreationally. But 87% of the poor, they spend more than an hour each day on the internet, just not really doing anything constructive. And this is important because the wealthy are freeing time up so that they can read, they can learn, they can volunteer, and they can do the important networking. The wealthy vet their thoughts. This is something that I thought it was absolutely the opposite of what was reality. The wealthy vet their thoughts, that not every thought needs to come out of their mouth. The wealthy make a habit of managing the words that they use. It's why they're so successful. People just want to do business with them. They just don't say what's on their mind. They know that it's going to damage relationships. Those are some of the top ones.
So you packed, obviously, a lot of things into that one answer. So first off, I think everybody listening can find themselves on the path to wealth. If you are listening to this audio, you are a subscriber to Success Magazine. You are learning and reading and developing, as you had suggested. 88% of those that are wealthy do, this constant, never-ending pursuit to learn and grow. So first off, everybody can feel great about that. The second thing is, where I usually start with people are their influences. So as you talked about, things that are affecting their mind, both negative, what might be sensational news media, and positive, which might be reading success or listening to interviews like this or audiobooks or other tools of education as you described. Then the relationships, the influences through associations, as you talked about. And then the next one is their physical health. I always find that if people can regain their confidence, there's something very validating when people start to feel better and feel stronger and feel more confident. It's kind of that root cause where then change starts to transform and